Good morning. Welcome to midterms. Our topic is multifetal pregnancy. In this module, we will discuss how twin gestation occurs and how is diagnosis made. And let me enumerate the antepartum and intrapartum management in twin pregnancy. Let me also present some unique complications in this type of gestation. Generally, twin gestation accounts for 1 to 3% of all pregnancies. Local statistics gives an incidence of 0.72%, and although it is not that common, 10% of perinatal morbidity and mortality is due to multifetal pregnancy. Thus, whenever a pregnancy is that of a multifetal gestation, then it is always considered a high-risk type of pregnancy. You learned from the basics that in one menstrual cycle, only one oocyte is ovulated, resulting to a singleton pregnancy. So how does twinning occur? Twin gestation can either be dizygotic or monozygotic. Dizygotic or fraternal twinning comes from two ova fertilized by two sperms. This is basically two singleton pregnancies placed inside a single uterus. Monozygotic twins, on the other hand, is the fertilization of a single ovum. However, the formed zygote divides into two, resulting to twins. Between the two, dizygotic twinning is more common. And unlike monozygotic twinning, dizygotic type of twins is more affected by temporal and environmental factors. Although the number of fetuses is important when we discuss multiple pregnancies, equally important is the number of placenta and amniotic sac, and this is termed chorionicity. It's quite obvious that in those with only one placenta, more so in those with only one amniotic sac, this will be more prone to complications compared to those with two placentas where each twin is separated by two amniotic sacs. In this regard, since dizygotic twins are basically two singleton pregnancies placed inside a single uterus, the chorionicity in this type of twins is always dichorionic, diamnionic. In monozygotic twins, however, the chorionicity is more complex. In the genesis of monozygotic twins, it's important to remember that once a structure has already differentiated, it will no longer divide. And three structures are to be remembered. The chorion, which is already formed by day 4 post-fertilization, the amnion by day 8, and the embryonic disc by day 12. Meaning, if the monozygote will divide by, for example, day 2, when the placenta has not yet differentiated, then it's possible in this type of monozygotic twin to also form two placentas, two amnion, and two separate embryonic discs. Therefore, in monozygotic twinning, the number of chorion and amnion is variable and depends on when the zygote divides relative to the differentiation of the chorion and the amnion. If the division occurs within the first 4 days after fertilization, since the chorion has not differentiated yet, we will produce two chorions, two amnions, and two fetuses. Therefore, the chorionicity is dichorionic, diamnionic. If the division occurs between 4 to 8 days, the chorion has already differentiated, so it can no longer divide. But the amnion and the embryo are still capable. So we produce a single chorion, two amnions, and two fetuses. The chorionicity, monochorionic, diamnionic. If division occurs between 8 to 12 days, only the embryo has not differentiated yet. In here, we produce one chorion, one amnion, two separate fetuses, monochorionic, monoamnionic. Division beyond the 12th day will be incomplete, resulting to conjoined twins, of course, with a monochorionic, monoamnionic chorionicity. Knowing that the chorion differentiates first before the amnion, A dichorionic placentation will always be diamnionic, and a monoamnionic placentation will always be monochorionic. But a monochorionic placentation can either be diamnionic or monoamnionic. Here are some illustrations emphasizing the chorionicity in di and monozygotic twins. Determining the zygosity is not an easy task. Seeing two gestational sacs in a first trimester ultrasound means that there are two placentas. Therefore, the chorionicity is dichorionic, diamnionic. In this ultrasound picture, wherein you can see two gestational sacs, wherein the chorionicity is dichorionic, diamnionic, what is the zygosity? Probably during the synchronous lecture, I can ask someone to answer that question. A single gestational sac, on the other hand, means that there is only one placenta, therefore monochorionic. Can you tell me the zygosity in this picture? Two parameters determine dizygosity with accuracy. These are difference in genders and difference in blood type. Gender and blood type concordance, however, will not determine again the zygosity. Since zygosity is not easy to determine, we shift our focus in determining the chorionicity. Early and accurate determination of amnionicity and chorionicity is critical in the antenatal management of twins. This is done by ultrasound. Determination of the etiology of growth restriction, early diagnosis of twin-to-twin transfusion syndrome, management of the surviving twin in cases of single fetal demise, and manner of delivery are examples of clinical management that depends on the chorionicity. Thus, every attempt must be made to determine and report chorionicity and amnionicity when a twin pregnancy is identified. The ideal time to determine chorionicity is between 10 to 13 weeks age of gestation. So this is dichorionic, diamnionic, monochorionic, monoamnionic. Seeing two yolk sacs indicates that there are two amnions. So since there is only one gestational sac here, then this is monochorionic, diamnionic. This is again a monochorionic, diamnionic type of chorionicity. Beyond the first trimester, the two separate gestational sacs may no longer be distinctly separated. Clues of dichorionicity include the presence of two separate placentas, or in case of a fused placenta, the presence of a thick dividing membrane called the twin peak sign will indicate dichorionicity. In contrast, in monochorionic placentation, the thick dividing membrane is not present, and there is only a thin dividing amnion arising from the single placenta, and this is called the T sign, indicative of monochorionicity. Of course, examination of the placenta will reveal if there is only one or two fused placentas. Ultrasound examination is the only safe and reliable method to accurately diagnose multiple gestation. During the first trimester, the number of gestational sacs, again, can be accurately seen. But during the latter part of pregnancy, same fetal parts must be seen in the same plane to accurately diagnose this as twins. Please answer the following questions. Maternal adaptation to twin pregnancy includes the following. And pregnancy outcomes like the probability of abortion, malformations, growth restriction, and preterm birth are greater in twins compared to singleton pregnancies. Let me now present some unique complications in twin pregnancies. First is a monoamnionic twins. This type of twinning is at risk for intrauterine fetal demise because of cord entanglement. Therefore, these recommendations. This type of twins is also delivered by cesarean section at 34 weeks, regardless of the presentation. Next is twin-to-twin transfusion syndrome. Here, through a single placenta where fetal vessels are anastomosed, the donor twin transfers its blood to the recipient, leading to the illustrated consequences. This type of monozygotic twins occurs when in a monochorionic placenta, there is a solitary deep arteriovenous anastomosis between the two fetuses. The ultrasound criteria are as follows. The two most important criteria are monochorionicity and the oligohydramnios polyhydramnios sequence. In staging the severity of this syndrome, stage 1 begins with abnormal fluid volume in each fetus. Management includes fetoscopic ablation, amnioreduction. Probably at this point, I can entertain a recitation on what is the benefit of amnioreduction in this case. Septostomy, and so on. Another unique complication in monochorionicity is a cardiac twin or the TRAP sequence. Here, we have a normal fetus who donates or pumps its blood to a recipient which is malformed and does not have a heart. Pathophysiology is through an arterial-arterial and venous-venous anastomosis between the two fetuses. The appearance of the acardiac or malformed twin as shown in this slide will depend on the extent of its development. Management is the same just like in TT-TS. Discordancy, on the other hand, is size inequality of the twins. This is suggested whenever the abdominal circumference measurement differs by 20 mm or when there is a significant discordancy in weight by as much as 20%. It is said that as the weight difference increases, the probability of perinatal mortality also increases. Here is the pathophysiology explaining the possibility of growth discordancy in monozygotic and dizygotic fetuses. And here are the principles in the management. Twins with significant growth discordance, but whose weights are above the 10th percentile for gestational age, have a more favorable outcome rather than fetuses with weight concordance, but below the 10th percentile for age of gestation. Growth discordancy alone is not an indication for immediate delivery, except perhaps in cases of advanced gestational age. When growth discordancy occurs, especially in pregnancies remote from term, increased surveillance is done in the form of biometry every 2 weeks to measure growth, twice weekly BPS and NST, and weekly Doppler velocimetry. Last is single twin demise. The prognosis for the surviving twin is dependent on the two factors, the age of gestation and the chorionicity. Early demise or demise in the first trimester does not increase the risk of death in the surviving twin. This will only lead to a vanishing twin syndrome. After 20 weeks or towards the later part of pregnancy, when one twin dies, the prognosis now depends on the chorionicity. In dichorionic pregnancies, the risk of death and neurological abnormality in the surviving twin is small. However, if a condition affecting the pregnancy is present like hypertension, close surveillance and timely intervention for the surviving twin are indicated to prevent a second fetal loss. Otherwise, the surviving twin is delivered at term. Death of one twin in a monochorionic pregnancy is more problematic because of these complications. This is the increased probability of death in the surviving twin and neurological abnormality. Neurological abnormality in the living twin occurs because when one twin dies, the surviving twin is depleted of its blood supply, resulting to persistent hypotension, ischemia to organs, notably but not exclusively in the brain. This damage occurs during the time of single fetal twin demise. Management therefore includes delivery if neonatal survival is already likely, or expectant management if the age of gestation is still remote from term. Let us now discuss the antepartum and intrapartum management of twins. The principles in the antepartum management are as follows. In multifetal pregnancy, prenatal care is more frequently done and diet is modified. Principles in the prevention of preterm delivery is same with that of a singleton pregnancy. Antepartum surveillance includes the following. And intrapartum management are as follows. The presentation of the twins can be any of these combinations, and the manner of delivery will depend on the presentation. Briefly, if the presentation is cephalic-cephalic, as long as it is diamnionic, then delivery should be vaginal. Delivery of cephalic-non-cephalic twin is individualized. If the weight of the second of twin is 1,500 to 4,000 grams, vaginal delivery may be done as long as the obstetrician is comfortable with and is skilled in vaginal breech delivery. There are two options by which the second of twin that is non-cephalic in presentation can be delivered. It's through an external cephalic version or total breech extraction. Cesarean section when the second of twin is non-cephalic is actually another option. If the presenting twin is non-cephalic, then delivery is planned via cesarean section. When one delivers twins vaginally, the interval between delivery of twins is no longer considered critical in determining the outcome of the twin delivered second. Thank you so much for viewing this module. See you in the synchronous lecture.